Join me as we talk all things true crime.
Made contact and shattered.
Delivered to a missing 4-year-old. The parents have called in and advised that the mother had went for a walk, came home, now they can't find her, they've been feeling worse.
Turn it over to another agency. Let's get some help.
Where are your kids? They've been missing for 4 months. You have nothing to say? You're over here in Hawaii? Dad, where are Lori's kids?
4 were stabbed multiple times and were likely asleep during the attack. Some had defensive wounds.
Most of them had just like one that was the lethal stab wound.
Hello, everybody. Let me know if you can hear me in chat. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I am not in my office just yet. It will be put together and ready for the next live stream. So I'm just kind of winging it here in the bedroom. We are diving into this case right now. I'm just waiting for the okay from chat that they can hear me. Hello, Pointer Lover, Scottish Queen, Mac J, MK. It's good to see you. Thank you for becoming a member. Sexy Wild Thing, Carol freaking Claus. Thank you so much. Hello, CDT. It's good to see you. All right. It seems like, hi, Nay. It seems like people can hear me, right? So we've got some stuff to go through. I know that you guys have seen this story all over the place. Let's just get right into it. So Ruby Frank, 41, and her business partner, Jody Hildebrand, 54, were arrested in Utah on August 30th. They each faced 6 counts of aggravated child abuse. Neither woman entered a plea deal in the virtual hearing the other day, and the 2 were detained after Miss Frank's 12-year-old son sought help from a neighbor. So pretty much he escapes out of the business partner's house, Jody, who has a whole history in herself. So before we even get into all that, has anyone seen the Paris Hilton documentary? And it's about some reform school that her parents sent her to a long time ago that had very controversial disciplinarian tactics and methods. Pretty much Jody was a part of that establishment, and in fact has like bragged about her time spent there and how she, rubbed elbows with celebrities while she was there. And just, this history of this type of abuse apparently goes back with other people who have come forward and said, Jody has actually abused me. And, the duct tape thing seems to be something that Jody is into. It's not the first time that this has happened with a child in her care. Now, why exactly was Ruby's children in Jody's house and in their care? Well, apparently during the hearing, as outrageous as this is, it appears that, Jody supposedly was supposed to be helping her children with their behavioral issues. And apparently, Ruby, while she was crying in court the other day, is throwing the children under the bus as a means to explain or justify or kind of lay the groundwork for why this has happened. And they're claiming that I think it's more than one child she's claiming of her own has confessed to her about essaying other children in the family as well as other kids. I think she quoted it was as saying up to 20 other children's were exposed to this SA from her child and presented no proof. Now, when Jody was arrested, she made a statement before asking for a lawyer and pretty much said those children cannot be around other kids. So it seems like there's a narrative being painted by Jody and Ruby right off the bat that the children involved in this have problems themselves and are dangerous around other kids. So it's crazy already. let's see, the husband who isn't around in the house is fighting for custody. Apparently, he has been witnessed and even a part of some of this type of egregious parenting styles in the vlog. Now, remember, this is a family style vlog that they had on YouTube for many years, over 2 million followers. So, he was very much a part of all of that and is, hoping to be granted custody. Whether or not that happens, we will have to find out. But it's now become a question of, is Ruby being influenced by Jody, or was, Ruby in charge of all these conversations and all these methods of discipline and all that with her children herself? We're not sure, who's going to point the finger at who just yet. But, there had been petitions gathered by the subscribers to, get CPS involved. Apparently CPS, I think, showed up and were turned away, and they never went back again, like, to follow up on stuff. So it's, again, another example of another case that we've seen in so many times where CPS is quote unquote involved or has touched base and nothing gets done for whatever reason. So that's another disturbing aspect in all this too. Now, I want to dig into the full 911 call and the dispatch that we have. And I've laid it all out in some edits. I want to play them for you. I've also made a compilation of Ruby's own videos, and we can kind of look at them and talk through those videos together. So thank you all again for being here. If you haven't pressed like or subscribed, please do so. It's greatly appreciated. It's free, and it's really all I ask you guys to do. And hello, Sherry Hill, Midwest Mima, Princess Megan Elsa, EE Caroline. Caroline, it's good to see you as well. They wanted the children separated so they couldn't support one another. Mission accomplished. That's the thing, is why did the judge take what Ruby and Jody said as truth without seeing evidence of this supposed, this child isn't allowed around other children? I don't know. It's a whole other element in all this. But while I look at my notes, I will be playing these videos. So again, I can't thank you guys enough for being here. And hello, Richie, and everyone else who has joined us. So let's get into it, guys. I'm going to start playing some of the stuff. Again, I want to say this might have a little bit of a trigger. So I will clarify that this involves CA. So that's your trigger warning.
Who hate me, who would like to cancel me, who would like to see me either burn in hell, as I have told, or disappear off the face of the earth. And I'm not going anywhere.
911, the address of your emergency. Tell me exactly what's happened.
I just had a 12-year-old boy show up here at my front door asking for help. We know there's been problems at this neighbor's house. He's emaciated, he's got tape around his legs, he's hungry, and he's thirsty. And he asked us to call the police.
What's
so he's very afraid. This kid has obviously been, I think he's been detained. He's obviously covered in wounds. We need the cops here as soon as possible.
Where he said a 12-year-old male showed up with tape around his legs, thirsty, asking for help, said he was afraid, asking for police. Devar, he gave the name of Russell Franke, unknown date of birth, or he did give us the date of birth, but I'm not showing any Russells and Stillman. I'll keep looking into that. The RP said he left through the porch of the neighbor's house. Does have duct tape around each ankle. He's not telling the RP why, and said that there's sores around his wrists and ankles. He's becoming, or correction, the RP is becoming emotional. Sorry, the RP said that he left from a neighbor's of Jody Hildebrand and Ivan's 54-year-old female. Not sure if they're related. When asking the RP's parents info, he said his mom is Ruby Franke, unknown where she lives.
Do you have an address for that, Jody?
Tampar 8. He's also saying that there's two of his sisters are back at the home as well.
Now, again, this is a 911 call as well as this dispatch that was put out after the 911 call was put through. This image on the screen right now is from the oldest daughter's social media. After she had found out what was going on, she posted this picture of it going down and posted finally.
Hey, 314, the wounds on his leg are pretty good. 12X511, 314, medical's going to transport him. Said that his wounds are in need of immediate care.
Confirming Rose, Frankie. 7-7, I don't have any Rose Frankies coming back in Stillman or in Utah. I did find a Ruby Frankie, which I sent to 12X11, showing an address out of Springville. However, only involvement is a traffic offense a couple days ago.
12X11, 314 as well. The child looks very emaciated.
I also find it interesting when they had pulled up records, like before they're getting to the scene, there was a traffic violation that took place a few days ago. So I don't know. I find that the timing of the traffic infraction and all this disturbing behavior right before they're arrested, very interesting.
Or you want medical to hold off to transport to the hospital?
We need to get some photographs first.
10-4, we're going to have them hold here.
Yeah, if he's alert and breathing, just hang out and wait for us, please.
After doing a little digging, it looks like that 27 I sent you for Ruby Frankie is going to be the one that is associated with the Jody Hildebrand. They're both showing a therapist from Salt Lake and associated through social media as well.
Control 12X11, does she have an address in Springville?
Yeah, 10-4, she's showing up in Salt Lake per her Facebook. Her and Jody both are therapists showing addresses up or locations for their work up in Salt Lake as well.
Copy, yeah. 10-4, that's going to be the mom. What's the address for that Jody Hildebrand?
Sorry, which address for Jody?
Do you have an address for her in Kansas?
Yeah, 10-4, she's just a few streets up showing the address of...
11, can you hold there? We're searching the house.
Now, I want to go back. Hello, Mel Mac and everyone else who has joined. Thank you so much for being here. I want to go back before the arrests take place and, watch some footage of her on her blogs and all that. Somebody said this lady is a fake. And, somebody else said something. Hold on, let me scroll up. Oh, I know very little on this case, but why do I get the Lori Vallow vibes off this situation? So that's the thing, too, that makes this sort of a different element. And another aspect that's deep in this case is the tie to the LDS church. Again, we aren't going to lump all Mormons or members of the LDS as one, but it's just another element in this case that I think is used to kind of justify the means of their discipline. I'm not sure exactly, what their reasoning is, but apparently both believe that many are lost in the darkness of distortion and they fear the influence of the outside world on the children. And they just talk in their vlogs and their podcasts together about, how the outside world is bad for their kids, pretty much. And I don't know if that's what they've rationalized this treatment as, but they are using food as punishment. What else? They are apparently Jody had gotten her license revoked and put on probation because she was repeating stuff that a patient was telling her to the elders at the LDS church. Just a lot going on here. So let's just watch. Hello, Sleuth Mom and everyone else joining. Let's just watch a little bit of her vlogs and talk through it.
Laughed so hard. And I'm like, I'm embarrassed.
Now, some of these come from TikTok, so I will narrate a little bit and explain what's going on. So it says, Ruby literally takes away his only pair of shoes, and Ruby gets mad at him for getting in trouble at school for not having shoes. So this is one of her sons. Apparently, as punishment, she had taken away a pair of his shoes. He literally went to school without shoes on.
It's not about the shoes. Let's go. You're not getting advice. Okay, grab your school shoes.
I don't have those.
Where are they? What did you wear to school today? What did you wear to school?
I didn't wear shoes at school.
Yes, you did.
Okay, I'm going barefoot. I don't even care. Yeah, we're going to a restaurant. I don't care, Mom. I gave you a hug. Mom!
I did not know you got in trouble at school.
Laughed.
Bikini top. Abby found a really cute rash guard.
So this is now again, they had a family vlogging channel that she takes down and before she starts her business with Jody, and they start their own podcast together. Now she rationalizes removing the old channel because she pretty much says something along the lines of she wasn't acting her like best self in that. Like pretty much it seems to me and for others, as soon as she meets Jody, her views and extremism just escalates. Now this TikTok says 1 year difference in how times have changed. Now this is about one subject. Now this subject, the whole thing is complex too, because it involves parenting styles. And, you know, coming from a very strict mother like myself, the conversation here in this little vlog about bikinis and two-piece bathing suits, like my mom was very much like, I don't want you wearing a two-piece. But she was very strict, you know, she wanted us to be modest and all this stuff. Well, I can see like why some can argue like, well, there's nothing wrong with, you know, a mother wanting their daughter to wear a one piece. But this little video here kind of shows you a difference in her parenting. 1 year it was they can wear whatever they want. And then a year goes by and she's decides like, no, we're not going to allow two-piece bathing suits. Now, again, every parent is different. So that's the other element to this. You know, are you allowed to do these things? Yeah. As a parent, you can set certain rules and it shouldn't be seen as like abuse, you know, but I think that what's interesting about this little video is it can show you how in the vlog, the family vlog they had, it was called 8 Passengers. She was saying that she's okay with them wearing two pieces. Well, time goes on, and I don't know if this next part is after she met Jody, but suddenly things changed, you know, and her outlook on it is different. So thank you so much, Caroline, for becoming a member. I really appreciate that. I appreciate you guys being here as well. Like all your comments, everything you guys bring really makes the live stream go by so much smoother. Scottish Queen says sometimes someone can be abusive, but when they meet someone just as abusive, they enjoy the abuse together. And that's the thing about this case that I'm realizing is there seems to be like a sadistic element to all this. I'm not sure why, but you know, even from other patients and people that Jody has been a therapist, quote unquote, to have come forward and saying she has a way of twisting things into, you know, you're the bad one. And again, apparently in court the other day, Ruby was claiming that her children this one child has been watching explicit material since they were 3. Now that has been very like confusing because we've seen her in certain vlogs talk about how her kids aren't allowed phones and devices. So some of the stuff she was even saying in court is being contradicted by her previous vlogs.
That she wants to wear, but she wants to wear a bikini top underneath it. I've gotten a lot of DMs and a lot of comments asking, how come you won't let your girls wear bikinis? How come you won't let your girls wear two pieces? I've never told my girls what swimsuits to wear. Have I ever told you had to wear one piece? No.
In my home. And I have decided there's no bikinis.
Julie, when you turned 8 years old, do you remember I gave you the gold ring when I was a little girl? Mm-hmm. And you grew out of it because it doesn't fit you anymore. But I just enjoyed seeing it on your hand so much. Every day when I would see it on your hand, I would remember that you really are precious and that you really are a jewel, and it would remind me to treat you with a lot of respect and love. And so really that ring is for me. So when I see you wear it, it reminds me
of yourself.
To treat you with love and to remember just how precious you are. Julie, when you...
I want to get out of this conversation.
Oh no, this is an uncomfortable conversation we must have.
Am I mad? Are you angry at me?
Let's sit. I gave Julie a tongue lashing that will not ever be repeated nor recorded. Just use your imagination. It was bad. I am gonna say one nice thing, and that is you took your lashing very well.
I just feel like that part right there is just so disturbing. You took your lashing very well. And the whole thing about this too is, you know, people already have a problem with family vlogs that just put their children's whole life and childhood out there for strangers and everyone to just watch and see and hear. You know, I feel like there's an element to Ruby that, you know, would let things get so dramatized and over the top just so that she could have content. So there's like an element of her behaving a certain way just to get likes and views. And then we add in her meeting Jody, and it becomes like this, like we had talked about earlier, where two people seem to be enjoying this abuse on, you know, helpless kids.
And I'm going to pretend that life is exactly how I want it.
I'm going to go.
All right?
I'm going to go get dressed for football.
You're going to have to go find your shorts. Oh, did you see the socks you threw at the side of the garden? And you are not going anywhere unless you pick up your junk. You've got crap thrown all around. Now, so you see, now I'm using bad language. That's how bad of a mood I'm in. You get your socks picked up and don't you leave your stuff out anymore.
Where?
Right over there. Run and go pick them up. And then give me 10 push-ups. Put them in your pockets so you can take them down to the hamper and drop and give me 10.
1.
Put your hands straight out. They're in. They're not supposed to be out. Shape your hands forward. There you go. 1, 2. Down further. Bring your butt down. Ooh. Get out from underneath my bed.
Come out. I found dead skin.
She found dead skin. Come out.
Dead skin.
Get out from underneath my bed. Right now.
Dead skin everywhere. I write that song.
You wrote that song, Dead Skin? You're gonna have to write, I'm dead now, because you're in so much trouble.
And this is what I mean by like over dramatizing situations, you know, with the camera rolling. You know, it's all for the content. And then also, like Caroline said, there's an element of like a malignant narcissist that just seems to be present without being able to deny it in these videos. You can definitely argue that she could definitely be a narcissist. And again, that's my opinion. And many people who are experts and professionals, that is the opinion that they're coming up with as well. But you know, people have even said, what are her defense lawyers going to say? And some have suggested, well, if I was her defense lawyer, I would be definitely arguing some sort of mental illness or something like that. But right now, both their lawyers have entered no plea. And, you know, it's just they're going to be in court again, I think or in a week, September 18th, I believe. But they will be back in court.
Look at me. You're going straight to bed and you don't get dessert today. We're all gonna go out and get a cookie.
Then play a family.
September 21st. And the other thing about this video too is like the little girl thinks they're like having fun playing. And then all of a sudden she's like, look at me, you are not having dessert. And then all of a sudden things get like serious and she realizes like, oh, we're not having fun. It's just sad.
Game.
Eve, you cannot be in my room and do that.
The cotton balls. Should be in there.
I don't have any. Will you go in your bathroom and get some? Russell, go take these and throw them in the garbage can. We had family dinner and I was looking and looking and looking for Eve, and I was like, why isn't Eve at the dinner table yet? She usually comes to dinner as soon as I call her. And then I go looking outside. We've been looking for 30 straight minutes for her, and I was starting to get worried. And
how do you look for a child for 30 straight minutes and not know where they are? These are the elements of these videos. Like at first I was like, oh, this is sick. And then as I'm editing it, I'm like, wait, this doesn't make sense. And then I realize, and this is just my opinion, it's almost as if she sets it up for the kid to get in trouble. Like, this is how I'm picturing the situation. She said, I looked and looked for her, you know, when it was time for dinner, and I couldn't find her. And I looked for 30 minutes. And it's like, okay, this is how I see it. She probably peeked in at her, saw her playing with the nail polish, because that's what she's on the floor cleaning, and thought, oh, this is a good moment for me to make content. So she probably let the little girl, this is my opinion, she let the girl make a mess so that she could use it as content. And now she's got the video rolling, and she said, I was looking for her for 30 minutes. It's like, I'm under the impression that, you know, it's not that hard to find a kid in your own house. 30 minutes, you can't find somebody. Let's keep watching this. But I'm thinking of it as looking at this video and thinking, you know, all this was sort of like set up. It's staged, you know, not only for content, but then as a means for her to discipline and be mean to the child. You know, it's like two birds with one stone. She gets the content for the channel, and then she also gets to kind of manipulate it and hurt the kid by, you know, this whole, I'm going to use this as the teaching moment. Well, first off, I don't know how you guys are, but, you know, I don't nail polish around kids. Like, I don't understand how all that time went by and she wasn't like observed, like spilling it and all that stuff. It's just, to me, it just doesn't seem believable that she couldn't find her kid for 30 minutes. And then she walks in and there's nail polish all over the place. Yeah, exactly, Scottish Queen. You would smell nail polish in a house. 30 minutes seems like too long. Smells like a setup. Agreed. Hi, Jen Lou. It's good to see you. That's the thing, is I just feel like this, not only in this video, but other ones, it's set up. And it's that element of likes and views. They're making money off of it. But then also there's this sadistic element.
I was like, okay, we're going to start calling around the neighborhood. And if I can't find Eve in the next 20 minutes, I'm calling the police. And then I found this.
And how dramatic is that? And I said, you know, if I can't find her in the next 20 minutes, I'm calling the police. And then I find this. Like, come on. You know, and then it sets it up so that, you know, you think, oh, that kid is naughty. You know, it's just, it doesn't seem real and genuine to me. And then it's just backed up with like, oh, now I can punish her on camera. And it gets worse, because you'll see.
You only got a little gist of it on camera. All of the discipline takes place off camera. But one of the consequences is she will not be getting her nails painted for a solid month. And that's like her favorite thing.
And then that part too, she's not going to have nail polish for a solid month. And that's like her favorite thing. So then the little girl comes in to apologize, and she says, it's not that you made a mess. It's that you were being sneaky about it. So she turns it into, you know, she literally just said it's her favorite thing, nail polish. So of course, that's why she got into it. You know, you as the mother, maybe you should have been watching her closer, for one, put the nail polish out of her reach, for two. And then the little girl comes and apologizes and wants, you know, her mother's affection and her mother's approval. And she uses it as a means to say, like, you were being sneaky. And it's like, but you just said that it's her favorite thing. So to me, I'm seeing it as she's just looking to do her favorite thing. You know, like, I don't see that as sneaky. But the way that she, you know, you could perceive it as she's twisting it, the situation, to manipulate the poor little girl, in my opinion.
Is to have me do her nails. And she's going to have to go without for a month until she learns that she's not old enough to do this yet by herself.
Eve wants to say sorry.
Okay, you tell her to come here. Come here. Come here.
Sorry, Mom.
Sorry for what?
I'm sorry for making a mess, and
I am more upset that you came in my room when you knew you weren't supposed to.
And here she sets it up to, sorry for what? And so the little girl's, reaching inside her own heart and soul and thinking, well, I'm sorry I made a mess. It just seems like that's what her mom's mad at. And then she turns it into this, like, you snuck into my room, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. It just seems so twisted as, like, to be something that it actually wasn't. She just wanted to paint her nails because you literally said it was her favorite thing. I don't think that the little girl was thinking, I'm going to be sneaky. I don't think that there was like a mean thing behind it. But the way that Ruby has twisted it, which sort of goes along with certain things that Jody's own prior patients have been saying that Jody does. Now, again, Jody's the therapist, her business partner. Ruby obviously is the mother. There's been victims who have come forward about Jody and saying she has a way of twisting things so that you think that even though you were a victim of a situation, you're actually at fault for what took place, or, have even told them that they've done things that they actually haven't. So then they start believing that they've done these bad things.
And you got into my things that you knew were not yours. That makes me more upset than making a mess. Because messes happen, but you were sneaking. And then you hid instead of telling me the truth.
I was just really sorry, and I didn't mean to do it. And then I said I shouldn't have done this idea.
You knew that it was a bad idea.
Yeah.
You're still going to have the consequence of not having your nails done for a month.
And yeah, it's like, sometimes kids get in stuff like markers or something, that's always going to kind of happen, especially when they're the age that this little girl is. Jen Lou says, I raised 4 heathens. They pulled all types of shenanigans, but never ever did they play with nail polish. I was lucky. And that the ironic thing is the other day, my little one grabbed the little nail polish that we use. And I went upstairs to get something, and I didn't know, she's only 2.5. I didn't know she could open it. But she's smart and sees me do it. So by the time I got downstairs, she had already started on her big toe and got some on the floor. And that I could have maybe acted the way Ruby did. But actually I blamed myself, thinking, wow, she's smarter than I thought. I didn't know she could do that. Like, lesson learned as a mom, don't let her hold the nail polish. You know what I mean? And it seems like instead Ruby is thinking, 1, let me go get my camera to make content. And 2, how can I manipulate this situation? Yeah, exactly. This is a gaslighting as a parenting style. So she's not only thinking about content, likes, and views, but she's also thinking how, she's getting a rise out of, being this way to this young, fragile mind. And that's just a sick element, in my opinion.
Do you understand that?
Yes. And I still want to buy you one of the Nutter rugs.
You still want to buy me a new rug? Maybe you can do some extra chores to help them with the money.
Mom.
It's a deal. Give me a hug.
And Mom.
Just because you turn 18 does not mean you're a full-grown, mature adult. There's nothing magic about the number 18. My kids are not welcome to come live with me after they're 18. I am very straightforward about that.
Eve has been amazingly well behaved for being in town.
But you yelled at me.
Shh. The fact that I yell at my kids is a secret. We don't want our viewers to know. That never happens. In my house, I never yell. Right, Eve? Tell them how Mommy never yells at you.
And it's funny that she says, we don't want our viewers to know this or that. And it's like she says it as a joke. But clearly, with the charges that she's been charged with, there is a level of show the audience this, but don't show them that. So it's just ironic and interesting to look back on the little innuendos that she says. And it's like, ooh, so you were aware that some of the things going on, like you didn't want the public to know about. If you're a mother, a mommy blogger, whatever they call this little niche on YouTube, it's huge. She had over 2 million subscribers. Now, were those 2 million watching her all supportive people, or was there a huge portion that seen this as like a train wreck that they couldn't look away from? In fact, it reminds me a lot of the Duggar family because of the strict like religious element, but also the aspect of like anyone watching that show. I don't know if you guys ever watched the Duggars. I know CDT did. I don't think anybody watched that show and was envious of their lifestyle. They watched it and thought, this is strange. This is different. I can't look away from this. Like, how do these people live like that? Like, it's given me Duggar and Lori Vallow vibes.
I'm super cute and it's hard to yell.
I must never tell a lie. Oh my gosh, you're a doll.
Is it right?
Yes, you're right. You are super cute. And do I ever yell at you?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
I've been sleeping on a beanbag since October. And they gave my room back like 2 weeks ago. Oh, I'll give you.
Now, this whole thing, I know that a lot of people have seen this. That's one of the sons describing how, as punishment, he was told to sleep on a beanbag chair. What's interesting also about that is a former victim or patient of Jody, the therapist who is Ruby's business partner, has come forward pretty much saying, I was forced as punishment by Jody to sleep on the porch in the cold. So this whole like taking away a comfortable sleep area and taking away food seems to be something that both Jody and Ruby have done in the past. And, you know, we see evidence of it right here and from the victim who has come forward about Jody. So now, like we questioned earlier, is this a situation where Ruby is being influenced by Jody, or has Ruby had just a big part in all this as Jody? You know, they're both facing the same child abuse charges. And, you know, what's going to happen when their defense teams decide to come forward with defending a reason, pretty much, you know, like is one going to blame the other one? We will have to wait and see. And hello, Tony. It's good to see you. I watch the Duggars and Sister Wives and 90 Day Fiance and shows like that because they're a total train wreck. Exactly. Hello, Ava, and everyone else who has joined. I didn't know, you know, when I started watching some of these TikToks and stuff, I was like, what's going on here? And it's true. Like once I watched one, I had to click on another one and I was just like, wow, you know.
The reason why I lost my bedroom. I think so. I think this is the reason. At least this is the reason that's been in my head. It's pretty funny, but now that I look back, I mean, it's pretty depressing.
No, we never told our viewers.
That I woke Russell up at 2.
No, we never told our viewers, you know, and that's another example of an element can be argued that certain things did take place that they just didn't want the viewers to know about or the public to know about, you know. And I guess one of the pieces of evidence that took place when they did the search warrant on Jody's house was there was medical gauze in the trash, or they were able to find medical gauze that had been used, which means, you know, somebody in that household was fully aware that the child's wounds were in need of medical care. The other thing that people have called into question is, well, whose fingerprint is going to be found on that duct tape? Both the ankles and the wrists had duct tape. Apparently it was woven, I think something like a type of rope type of duct tape situation. I don't know. I haven't seen pictures. They haven't shared anything like that yet. But, you know, that's going to be interesting to find out. Will there be a piece of hair that's Jody's and it's not Ruby's, you know, or vice versa? Whose fingerprint? All of that, you know, with these types of harsh charges, you know, all that will be looked at and it's going to come into play.
In the morning and told him that we're going to Disneyland and he has to pack. And he got up and made his bed all neatly and then packed all his clothes in the suitcase. And then he walked out the door and I'm like, Russell, and he's like, what? And he's all happy, has his sunglasses on. And I was like, we're not going to Disneyland. And he started crying and hitting me. And then he went back to bed in tears and then...
So that was not the reason you lost your room, but that was
the other reason is because I pointed a BB gun at his face.
And how casual, I mean, siblings, there will be sibling rivalry. There will be elements of bullying amongst each other. It happens, but kids do what they see, they mimic, they imitate. So unfortunately, if this brother is bullying the other brother, you have to realize like, well, he's just doing what was probably done to him, and it's sad and it's a perpetual cycle that just keeps going. I will say when I heard this story, it reminded me of a story of my dad when he was a kid, a parent, and this is so bad. Like I remember hearing it as a kid and was like, wow, if we ever did that, oh my gosh. Apparently, when my nana and papa were at work, my dad locked his siblings in the basement and said that there was a fire. And it just reminded me of like this element of like this kid just, bullying the brother, telling his brother, we're going to Disney World, and it's just a sick, twisted game, and it's like, what's going on in this household for this, and that's the thing is too, in this little segment, he talks about how he has no friends, no means to communicate with his friends because they don't have phones. And so I start to think like, well, I wonder if there's like an element of like boredom too, because, they don't have that social interaction with other people. And, how much fun can you really have if you can't have that connection with your own peers and kids in the neighborhood, etc. So there's like an element here when you think about how Jody and Ruby feared influence of the outside world on their kids, of their keeping them so sheltered that they're like turning on each other in a way.
Pointed a BB gun at his face and hung him on the basketball. Funny. Chad showed that he was not able to manage himself sharing a bedroom with Russell.
So when we moved, the bigger room in the basement was automatically his, and I didn't have a room, but we like put one on hold for me.
So a lot of you are like, hey, that's not fair because Chad got the lesser bedroom and Russell got the bigger bedroom. Russell got the big bedroom and Chad got the smaller bedroom. And Russell's bigger bedroom also had a bathroom. But what you guys didn't know was Chad didn't get any room. He didn't get anything. He was sleeping on the floor in the family room. And he just got the bedroom back.
And I feel like there's a lot of sadness, and that's just my opinion and my perception, in the children's eyes. Like even in other videos, like I just see like a sadness and almost like emptiness behind them. And Jen Lu says, yes, they fear the outside world because it's different and requires one to be a free thinker. Right. And that is something that they fear with add in their religious aspect too, to all this. And, they can't have that if it's outside of the LDS church. I'm having to fact check this, but you guys let me know if this is true. I'm hearing that for social media platforms to push LDS, the LDS church actually helps support those channels. So it kind of gives them incentive. I don't know if that's true or not, but if that is, then that's even more reason to think that there was some other reasons why, they were creating this type of content. And, unfortunately, the kids were at the expense of it all. There was something else I was going to say about this little segment here. Let me just think about it while I play this.
It's because he's shown up consistently without bullying the kids. Chad hasn't had a flip phone, a smartphone, any kind of phone, and it's been over a year. And I still have no intention of returning a phone. Abby, we took the phone away from Abby in November. And you may never get the phone back.
Probably not.
And apparently, I'm not sure what daughter, but when the 911 call and the arrest and rescue was taking place, the son said that his two sisters were in the home still. Now they go and they take the girls, and apparently one of the girls refused to talk to medics for 4 hours. And now that just kind of lays out a whole picture of, yeah, exactly. They were trained and not loved. Right. And yet through that brainwashing and this conditioning, the girl whose brother had to escape out of a window and asked for help. She felt like she was betraying either her mother or her mother and Jody, but she just wouldn't talk to them for 4 hours, you know? And that just shows you the level of conditioning and control that had taken place. I don't know if it was that girl in the video right there or what, but they have redacted a lot of the specifics when it comes to the children in the PCA when we look at it. So it's, you know, of course, it's unfortunate, but she herself has put her kids out there for so many years, and now it's all coming back in her face.
You make these choices with your family to take things away. As a parent, you really do.
Oh my gosh, yes, Amy. They hate her. That's what I was going to say when I couldn't think of it. So just think about how, that's the thing too about this whole story. It's had so many different niches on YouTube and social media talking about it. It's not just true crime community. The drama community is talking about it because this woman was on YouTube. Other mommy vloggers are talking about it. So it's just kind of reached the span of like a lot of different niches. And how many cases in the true crime community have we studied together? You know, Dahmer is just one example. Ed Kemper is another example where we look at their child after they act out on these egregious, horrific, you know, crimes. We look back on their childhood and come to find out how many times have we studied the mothers, and they're very much like Ruby. Now, I'm not saying that her children will or would have grown up to become a Dahmer or become Ed Kemper, but I mean, you cannot deny that we have looked back on so many of these criminals and we've been like, what went wrong? And what seems to be something that always is the case is the domineering, cruel mother, cold, and also the father usually is not in the picture for whatever reason, or, you know, the family is kind of a broken situation like Dahmer's where they got divorced when he was a teen. And now here, I'm not sure exactly why, and I want more details on that. I know many do, but her and the husband suddenly become estranged. Now from what I remember, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, Jody, the therapist business partner, was first a counselor to the kids and their marriage counselor. And then all of a sudden she kicks the husband out, you got to go. And she teams up with Jody and suddenly they're in business together. So I just find all that, you know, I want more information on the timeline of this connection between them, and as well as why exactly did the father have to go, and how far removed is a father that the kids were emaciated, you know, like it takes a little bit of time for the kids to lose that type of weight. So where was the father?
You want them to have these things, and it's been so difficult to take a phone away, to take a bedroom away, to take iPads away, to take access away. Like, it hurts me just as much as it hurts my kids.
And now I have no friends.
Now I want to rewind that for a minute because it's not something that I just like noticed right away, but that whole line there just sounds so fake. She's trying to say that it hurts her more than her kids realize. And then of course it's said in front of the kids so that, you know, she's hoping that they believe it, I think. But it hurts her that she's got to take away these things like the phone and stuff. And really, I think it's the opposite. I think that she enjoys it and she can sleep peacefully at night because she's removed them from being in other people's influence. And she knows that she's controlling them and conditioning them how she wants. But when she says this, she kind of gives like a duper's delight when she says it hurts me just as much. Like, it's just not genuine.
When you make these choices with your family to take things away, as a parent, you really do want them to have these things. And it's been so difficult to take a phone away, to take a bedroom away, to take iPads away, to take access away. Like, it hurts me just as much as it hurts my kids.
And now I have no friends.
You can play with friends.
No, like, I don't have friends.
I don't have friends either.
I literally like told my friends I'm not hanging out with them anymore.
Because
they say some pretty messed up stuff.
I've noticed that you've been hiding from me and you are feeling a lot of embarrassment and shame. I don't know. You tell me what you're feeling.
Mad.
Mad?
Because I really won't get anything for summer. I won't be able to go anywhere. No, I don't have any friends.
And I love you with all my heart.
I just got a...
And how sad. He just expresses to her why he's upset and sad, and I won't have any friends and I won't get to go anywhere. And her only thing to do is kiss him and say, but I love you. It's like in just reiterating to him in his own mental mind, like, well, you know, at least you have me. It's just
text message from Eve's teacher, and she said that Eve did not pack a lunch today, and can I bring a lunch over to the school? This happens quite often when you're raising children. I know that her teacher is uncomfortable with her being hungry and not having a lunch, and it would ease her discomfort if I came to the school with a lunch. But I responded and just said, Eve is responsible for making her lunches in the morning, and she actually told me she did pack a lunch. So the natural outcome is she's just going to need to be hungry. And hopefully nobody gives her food and nobody steps in and gives her a lunch.
hopefully nobody gives her food or steps in. What? Usually you'd be thinking the opposite. And this is what I mean, that it's like an element of like, is she just doing the opposite so that people watch her channel and think, wow, look at this woman, like for likes and views? Or does she believe it all and really think that starving the child who's, you know, growing and developing and needs a whole day's worth of energy is, you know, that's the right thing to do to teach her a lesson? And again, like, the child is 6 years old. What child is making their own lunch at 6 years old? You guys let me know, because I only have one. She's 2.5. So I don't know like what most moms are doing. But what I remember as a kid is my dad made my lunch every day, put a little note on my napkin every day. And at 6 years old, I'm not thinking like I got to go stop playing or stop watching the show and go make my lunch.
And my kids are literally starving. I hesitate to say this because it's going to sound like I'm like a mean barbarian, but I told the kids, I said, I'm not even going to let you eat breakfast until you get your chores done.
And she says, I hesitate to say this because I'll sound like a mean barbarian. You know, you're hesitating because there is some level to you who realize that like starving your child, you know, that's more than just being a mean barbarian. And the way that she kind of like downplays it, you know, and you want them to do all their chores before they eat. How are they supposed to have the energy to do it? Like, does she not understand the concept of like food, energy, metabolize, like the, you know, all that? I sound like NK, like talking about macros and all that. But, you know, it's like, it makes me wonder too if there's an element of like an eating disorder even for Ruby herself. I don't know, because I haven't watched her close enough to see her own eating habits. She is very thin. She very much cares about her appearances, you can tell. And I'm just wondering, like, has that kind of like bled over into her parenting style, like with her own kids and food? Like there seems to be like a very unhealthy like association with like food with her for whatever reason, beyond just using it as like, you know, discipline and all that. So CDT says, not over here, LOL. I still make my kids lunches. They will help sometimes, but they're 7 and 10. I wouldn't expect them to do it alone. Yes, parents make the lunch unless the kids insist on making the lunch. Starving kids is not a form of punishment. It's just beyond what I ever thought like would be happening. And think about it, 2 million people watching this. And they had come up with, like I told you guys, a signed petition for CPS to get involved. And this was a few years ago. And apparently it was closed because there wasn't sufficient evidence. And Ruby was quoted, her and her husband said, it was just so malicious. They knew what they were doing was out of context. They were purely seeking to throw hate. That was their only objective.
You cut one more thing in my house, I'm going to take the scissors, look at me, and I'm going to cut its head off.
Grandma will be so mad.
All right. So again, that was the full 911 call with the dispatch, as well as um, just some clips to kind of give us a little background. Now, the probable cause affidavit, let me just read a little bit of that. So it's redacted. So some of the stuff I'm going to have to say redacted. So redacted claim out of the window of an Irvin's residence belonging to Jody Hildebrand and ran to a neighbor's home, knocked on the door requesting food and water. The neighbor observed duct tape on the ankles and wrists and contacted law enforcement. Upon arrival, law enforcement observed the wounds and the malnourishment of blank to be severe, and that blank was transported to the blank hospital. Redacted was placed on a medical hold due to redacted deep lacerations from being tied up with rope and from blank malnourishment. Jody Hildebrand was found to be in direct care of blank and blank as they were staying at her home. In Jody Hildebrand's bathroom, I located gauze which had been used. This observation adds to Miss Hildebrandt's knowledge of the abuse in the home. Miss Hildebrand requested a lawyer and did not speak with us. Once given her charges, Miss Hildebrand informed me redacted and redacted should never be allowed around any other kids. Now that goes hand in hand with the court hearing the other day, where Ruby pretty much tries to say that, her son has essayed other kids, 20 other kids, and she's crying and all this stuff. What that has to do with the treatment of the children, I don't understand. Like, so wait, so you duct taped them because of what? I don't understand, like, the correlation, but apparently that's what she's saying. Now let me read on further. With this information and the belief that Miss Hildebrand had knowledge of malnourishment, abuse, and neglect, this charge will be enhanced to second-degree felony. I asked Miss Hildebrand not to be allowed bail due to the severity of the injuries and the fact that DCFS has taken 4 of Miss Franke's children into their custody, and I have yet to speak with 2 of them. So it says blank was found at Jody Hildebrand's residence after blank made contact with police. Blank was found to be malnourished and initially refused medical. So I think this is the one of the girls who for 4 hours wouldn't talk to them. I don't know though. After 4 hours, she agreed to medical treatment. Paramedics arrived and transported Blank to the hospital, where Blank was determined to be malnourished by medical professionals. Jody was found to be in the direct care of Blank. Once given her charges, Miss Hildebrand informed me and Blank should never be allowed around other kids. With this information, we believe, okay, so that just repeats everything we just said. So yeah. That's the PCA. That's the 911 call. That is a dispatch that we just listened to. So those were some of the videos that we've seen. Again, a lot of this stuff has been deleted by Ruby herself. But it seems like a lot of her subscribers have been concerned and neighbors have been concerned for a very long time. I do want to share this. It was on Law and Crime. It's Ruby's cousin. I haven't watched this yet. I want to watch this with you guys. So thanks for being here again, guys. Appreciate it.
It's a difficult thing to discuss, but we appreciate you making the time.
It's very, very hard. Very hard.
I want to start out with, first of all, your reaction, your feeling when you heard that Ruby Franke had been charged with child abuse.
I'm not shocked. If you've been through been through, it's not a shock at all. I guess the direction in which it was not what I expected, but from which it came was to be expected.
What do you mean the direction? Could you explain what you mean by that?
It's hard to say anything without getting. I suppose I wasn't expecting some of the details in that story to line up with some of the details in my own family history, I guess is what I'm trying to say, quite as well as it did. Well, my mother handcuffed my sisters when they were young, and the lack of food wasn't uncommon, but it wasn't out of a lack necessarily of money. There was a time when it could have been prevented, but it wasn't. The lack of food, I mean, and the handcuffing that happened to my family too with my mother.
Your mother handcuffed your siblings and you?
Luckily, I was not, but the others were.
There's been a recording released by police, and you can hear them talking. You can hear talk about people being duct taped, children having duct tape on them. Has that ever happened to you or your siblings?
All I can say is that my mother did duct tape my siblings, but I haven't heard anything specific being talked about before that. It was my siblings who told me that it happened. I didn't hear the 911 dispatch call. This is the first time I've ever heard of that, but I'm not shocked.
When was the last time you saw Ruby?
When I was very young, and yeah, it was a long time ago.
Do you have a ballpark on the number of years?
Over 15.
More than 15 years ago. That's the last time you saw Ruby?
Yes.
I know you want to, protect your identity. There is a relation here. I mean, you're related to her.
Yeah.
Would you consider yourself a distant relative?
No.
So what is the family's reaction, your family's reaction to Ruby being arrested and charged with child abuse?
Much the same as mine.
Darlings, your skin is thirsty.
Words. I guess disgust, because this is something that is multi-generational. So I am very privy to the way that I was treated and the way that my siblings were treated. And so to see that further on down the line is not shocking, but disgusting.
So the echo and the audio issues is on Long Crime's end with this interview with her cousin. House Huddle says, so Ruby is the mom and Jody is the friend that introduced this lifestyle. See, that's the whole thing, is I'm trying to figure out the timeline as well. Like, it seems as though Ruby had always had this type of extremism with the discipline and has been tied to the LDS church even before meeting Jody. But it seems like Jody, even before ever meeting Ruby, has had this history of deciding this style of therapy. Again, she was part of that reform school or camp that Paris Hilton went to, and they did that whole documentary about. So there's other victims of Jody who were under her care that have come forward and said, yeah, like, yes, I was made to sleep out on the porch. And yes, the duct tape thing sounds familiar, all this stuff. So it seems like a perfect storm between two extremists coming together and also have share this sadistic thrill that they get, harming the kids. That's how I'm seeing it. As far as the timeline of how things really started to escalate, that's still kind of being dug into.
And that would be along the ballpark of what they feel too.
Do you feel that Ruby and your mother learned this from their parents, or where do you think they came up with this type of thing? Handcuffing, the duct taping, the withholding of food. Where do you think they got that?
Oh, speak in a metaphor. we'll just say that the whole tree, from the bottom of the roots to the tips of the branches, the whole tree is blighted. This is multi-generational. So suppose you'd have to read in between the lines with that.
So from their parents, your grandparents, you believe that they learned this behavior?
Yeah, I do.
Ruby is Mormon. I assume you were raised in the Mormon faith as well.
Heavily, yes.
So Mormons do not condone harming children, abusing children. I don't really know of any religion that does. Do you feel that they talk about religion in a way to almost justify the abuse?
Yeah. It's been a while since I've read the Ensign. It's been a while since I've read through the Book of Mormon and been to church. But I can't give any specifics, but I do feel and believe that those sorts of things are used to justify.
So tell me, if you would, you talked about your siblings being handcuffed and things of this nature, the withholding of food. Were there other things that you found similar, things that happened to your siblings that you found similar to what was going on with Ruby's children, or at least the allegations being levied here?
I can say that with my own family, I can't speak on that, but I can say with my own family, my siblings and I, we were slapped and hit and screamed at. There was a few times where I had been slapped so hard, and it was with an open hand, so it's not like my mother used her nails or anything or had an object in her hand, but her hand was open. And she slapped me so hard that my lip started to break open and bleed. And like I said, I don't know anything about the allegations, and I can't speak on that, but I can speak on what my family has been through with physical abuse and emotional abuse. And that would be one of those things that we've been through.
What did you do that your mother slapped you with an open hand? I mean, what was the thing that you had allegedly done, or the thing that you had done that had upset her to drive her to that point? Or, I'm not blaming you at all. I'm just saying, what was it, the action that occurred that caused her to react in that way?
It was mostly unprovoked. Sometimes it was just regular parent stuff where, with children, sometimes they don't always do what they're told immediately, clean your room. That's normal. But what's not normal is reacting with slapping your child with an open hand and making their lip bleed. But I do believe that particular incident that I have in mind, it was unprovoked, and it was just out of anger and cruelty.
Were you aware of the 8 passengers YouTube? And I only ask because YouTube is everywhere. A lot of these channels really blow up and have tremendous followings. And maybe you just hear through the family grapevine, oh, Ruby's doing this channel.
My family is always left out of everything, so there is no grapevine. I discover these things on my own on YouTube, just from searching.
Had you ever seen her channel, though, since you're talking about, since you said you are on YouTube?
I'd seen it a couple times, yeah. But I couldn't bear to watch it because it reminded me of everything.
Okay, so you had seen the 8 passengers site or channel?
Yeah.
What did you see on there that really bothered you?
I actually saw that difference when I started taking the Lima supplements. Managing work and family.
I can only speak on my own experiences. A lot of the mannerisms that I saw in my mother, I felt a lot of those. And it stressed me out. I have a intermittent complex PTSD, along with a couple other things, and I think it was triggered. But I don't really know specifically what those triggers are. I just know that it hurt.
So you haven't seen Ruby's children in 15 years, obviously, because you haven't seen her in that amount of time. So was there just a lot of separation between the two parts of the family? You're saying you were kept separate, or they were kept separate. Did they just kind of go off on their own, or did you guys move away?
My family has been completely ostracized by them and treated less than dirt. The only kind of grapevine that ever did exist was when my mother was around and told us one or two things about, the media online with YouTube, or who was doing what. But even before, we were never included, and we've always been ostracized. We were the black sheep, yes, because my mother was the black sheep, And so by proxy, so were we.
So were you all in Utah for a time and then moved away?
Yeah.
Okay. How long have you been gone from Utah?
Over 10 years.
Oh, okay. So it's been a long time.
It's been a long time, yeah.
Is there anything you want to add about the arrest of Ruby and her business partner? I mean, have you heard anything about the children, where they are, how they're doing at this point?
I haven't heard anything, but I can say that on every fiber of my being, I can understand. It's very difficult to talk about, and there isn't much that I can add to that particular situation. Not just because I don't know very much about that, but also I just don't know very much about it. But I do understand the overarching dynamics that are at play.
And could you explain a little more about what you mean you don't know much about it?
Well, any of the allegations that have been made known, to be honest with you, um, it's really some of them are. It's the first time I've heard some of them from hearing from you. That's how much I am left in the dark, and my family is left in the dark about these things. Not that those things would want to be shouted at the rooftops per se, but we're definitely never have been in the know.
Are you much closer, I guess, to your father's side of the family?
Just to my father.
Mm-hmm. And what was his reaction to this?
Like I said, a lot of us discussed, and yet we haven't been shocked either. Absolutely not shocked.
Well, is there anything else, you would like to add about the arrest or the allegations of child abuse that are being made? And it sounds like for a long time, people were raising concerns. The neighbors were calling the police and raising concerns. There were people trying to cancel her on social media. There was a hashtag, hashtag cancel Utah vlogger, things like that. I mean, so people were concerned for a long time.
Well, I can understand that, and that makes sense to me. What upsets me is that when it comes to abuse, for someone like me who's been through it, the thing that I would like to add is just that why did it take so long? Why do all of these things take so long? Um, I've never received any justice for what I've been through myself, and I think I would just like to say that I hope that they're okay. I understand a lot more than they do about the larger dynamic. I hope people keep that in mind. It's a lot bigger. Everything is a lot bigger than people know.
And you're talking about the generational, the family issues, and do you know that if this went back just many generations, this treatment of family members of children?
It's been around at least since my mother, and she was over 40 years old, which I think that it's older than her. If I were to give my opinion, I can't back that up with evidence, but that is my opinion.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I couldn't add any extra details in.
No, that's okay. And we're sorry for what you've been through.
Thank you.
So again, that kind of gives you a little bit of perspective of somebody from Ruby's own family talking about a very present, systematic cycle of abuse. Unfortunately, that seems to be going back, generations. So yeah, somebody said it almost reminds me of the Turpin family. It's got, and that one has a strict religious aspect to it as well. So yeah, that is interesting. This isn't the first case that we've seen that is similar to other ones that we've seen. I mean, even the Lori Vallow case, look how that one ended. Was this one headed towards something like that? I seen people say stuff like her and Jody wanted to start their own cult. Is this sort of like Lori and Chad starting their own branch off of LDS? I don't know. It's just Very complex, you can tell, but we will be following it. I know I said earlier in the stream that their next hearing was the 18th. It's actually September 21st. And they're both being held without bail. And yeah, their lawyers haven't entered any type of plea yet. The ex-husband was there in court with his lawyer. Let me see. Yeah, it's just we'll be following this, but I appreciate you guys all being here tonight. I think that's enough of Ruby and Jody that we can take for tonight. But we'll be digging into more stuff specifically about Jody, the business partner, and dig up some dirt on her. We will obviously do that for Ruby too, but I think the next live that we talk about all this, we can kind of dig more into other people who have felt the wrath of what Jody has done to them during their therapy sections and all that. But again, thank you all for being here. Kelly Dime, Lynn, Rochelle, Scottish Queen, Mel Mac, Angelina, and everyone else who joined. I really appreciate you guys being here. Let's see. Yeah, I think we'll conclude our first live on this tonight, and we'll be talking very soon and keeping up with this literal nightmare. So we'll talk soon, guys. We are still covering other cases. So if you haven't subscribed, please be sure to subscribe. And yeah, you guys have a wonderful night. Thank you again, guys.